Jack and Lisa Harper, a married couple of 5 years with no children, sat at their kitchen table on a regular Thursday evening. Jack had just returned from work, his button-down shirt slightly rumpled, while Lisa looked immaculate in her tailored blouse, having arrived home about an hour earlier. By the front door, a neatly packed suitcase waited. "Jack," Lisa began, her tone a mix of cheerfulness and authority, "this weekend, I need you to finish painting the nursery. The paint cans are already in the garage, and the guy at the hardware store said you'll need to do at least 2 coats. Oh, and did you ask your parents if it's okay to paint the spare room? I know they told us to treat this house like it's ours, but it's still good manners to check." Jack leaned back in his chair, rubbing his temples. "Yeah, they said it's fine. But tell me again, Lisa, why do we need to paint a nursery now when you are not even pregnant?" Lisa exhaled, a hint of exasperation in her voice. She adored Jack for his steady, dependable nature, qualities she knew would make him a fantastic father one day. But his habit of questioning plans sometimes tested her patience. "Jack," she explained again, "I'm off the pill now, so it's only a matter of time before I'm pregnant. And maybe it will be another year before the nursery has its tiny occupants. I did some research, and even the safest paints can emit harmful fumes for months after application. That's why I'm heading out this weekend with Jenna, to avoid the smell of paint. Otherwise, I'd stay, and we could do it together." Lisa slid into an organizer-like rhythm. "Here's the plan. First thing tomorrow morning, you need to take my car to the shop. It's already booked. They'll give you a loaner for the day. Then, come back and get the first coat done. That should take you up to lunchtime. If the car is ready, go to your mom's house for lunch. She'll feed you, and you can mow her lawn like you promised. Dinner for tomorrow is in the freezer. Sunday morning, do the second coat, and make sure the nursery door stays shut so the fumes do not spread. Jenna told me that Mike will swing by around 1 o'clock to pick you up for golf, and you can grab dinner at the clubhouse. I'll be back home by 8. Jack shook his head with a wry grin. "Wow, Lisa. Sounds like I'm going to be a very busy guy this weekend, huh?" At that moment, Lisa's phone vibrated with a text message. She glanced at it and smiled. "Jenna's here already, waiting outside. Are you sure you have everything you need, Jack?" Jack gave her a playful look. "Do not worry about me, woman. I'll be just fine. You sure you'd rather go to the spa with Jenna than spend the weekend here with me? We could, get a head start on trying for a baby." Lisa laughed lightly but avoided his gaze, turning toward her suitcase. "Tempting, Jack. But as I see it, we have the rest of our lives for that. I've only got a little freedom left before I become a mom, so I want to enjoy it while I can." Jack arched an eyebrow but said nothing as Lisa picked up her bag and walked to the door. His eyes lingered on her, unreadable, before he called out, "Oh, Lisa, before you go, open that little going-away gift I got you." Lisa turned back, curious. Jack reached under the table and placed a small wrapped box in front of her. It was the size of a deck of cards, and Lisa studied it with mild suspicion. "Should I open it now or later?" she asked. "Your choice," Jack replied with a shrug. "But I think you'll want to use it this weekend." Lisa slowly tore at the wrapping and then froze as the cellophane box beneath was revealed. Jack broke the silence. "I had to guess at the size, but I think the dozen extra-large condoms will work. Plenty for 2 nights and 2 days at the spa, or with Ryan. I figured he's probably bigger than me, right? I mean, really, Lisa, was it worth risking our marriage and future family for this?" Lisa stared, unable to move, as Jack's calm words pierced her like knives. He continued, his tone eerily steady. "And that to-do list you gave me? Did you really think it would distract me from wondering why you dodged my question about which spa you're going to, or why you discouraged me from calling you all weekend? I cheated on you already?" "Well, no, I didn't. This was supposed to be the first time, the only time," Lisa stammered, her voice shaking. "Jenna spent weeks convincing me to go along on one of her trips, but I never went before. She practically pushed me into this. She even set up Peter, one of her lovers. And yeah, apparently he's, well, impressive in every way." Jack's expression didn't change. His voice remained calm, but the edge in his tone cut deep. "It doesn't matter if it was the first time or the 50th, Lisa. What matters is that you proved yourself to be such a convincing liar over these past 2 days that I don't think I'll ever believe another word you say. That's what happens when you get caught in a lie. Your credibility? Gone. Lisa flinched as if he'd struck her, but Jack wasn't done. It doesn't matter, though. Your plan was to humiliate me, to make me a fool in my own home, and that's all the closure I need. For the sake of the years we spent together, let's just end this, Lisa. If Jack had been yelling, if he had raged, Lisa might have found some solace. Anger meant passion, meant hope for reconciliation. But the cold indifference in his voice was terrifying. She dared to look into his face again and immediately regretted it. His eyes, dark and sharp as obsidian, held no trace of love or pity, only a disgust that felt like a knife twisting in her gut. But Jack, you have to believe me. How can you be so calm about this? You cannot just throw away everything we've built together, just like that? Lisa's voice cracked, desperation spilling into her words. Jack let out a bitter laugh, his tone finally breaking from the chilling calm. 2 days ago, Lisa, I'd have agreed with you. I thought what we had was untouchable. Turns out, I was wrong. I got wiser real quick. His voice began to rise as he continued. Do you know what I was doing Wednesday? I came home early, with flowers for you, by the way, and parked out front to wash the truck. But then I heard you, Lisa, through the back door, laughing on the phone with Jenna. Laughing about how you tricked me into this stupid weekend while you snuck off to sleep with Peter. Lisa's mouth opened to protest, but Jack cut her off. Don't you dare tell me you were nervous, and that's why you were giggling. That laugh of yours stabbed me right in the back. It was like a switch flipped. I couldn't even come inside. I just turned around and walked out. Ever since that moment, I've been done with you, Lisa. It's been all a game to me, just waiting for this moment. His voice cracked slightly, but he held his ground. Lisa stared at him, her thoughts spinning, desperately trying to find a way to salvage the situation. She clung to the hope that this really was her first betrayal, that it could somehow be forgiven. Jack, She reached out, but Jack pulled his phone from his pocket and held it up to her face. His expression was now completely unreadable, like a mask of stone. From the speaker came her own voice, mocking and cruel. I guess it's kind of funny, isn't it? Poor old clueless Jack painting the nursery while I'm off having my fun. You could call it feathering the nest, tasting something new right under his nose. The sound of her voice, those exact words, played back at her like a damning echo. Even Lisa's carefully constructed rationalizations crumbled in that moment. The sheer weight of the betrayal she had planned, not just to Jack, but to herself, hit her like a tidal wave. She understood now, in brutal clarity, the devastation she had caused. A car horn blared from outside. Jenna was here. Lisa flinched, realizing Jenna wouldn't stop honking until she came out. But her instinct screamed that the fight for her marriage had to start here and now. Jack spoke again, his voice low and measured. I think that answers my question. What question? Lisa asked, her throat dry. When I talked to Mike earlier, he hadn't decided yet whether to confront Jenna before she left or ambush her while she was out. Sounds like he made his choice. Lisa's mind flashed back to her phone call with Jenna, where the two had laughed at their respective husbands. The realization of how much trouble Jenna was in slammed into her like a brick wall. She bolted for the door, the rain pounding as she jumped into Jenna's car. He knows, Lisa exclaimed as soon as the door slammed shut. Who knows what? Jenna asked, her tone sharp. Mike knows what you're up to this weekend with Peter. Jenna's face paled, and without another word, she floored the gas pedal, tires screeching as they tore out of the driveway. Jack stood in the doorway, watching their car disappear. With a calm resolve, he picked up Lisa's suitcase, placed it on the porch, and attached a note, for Mike. Then, Jack grabbed his tools and started changing the locks, whistling as he worked. By the time Jenna had dropped Lisa back at her parents' house, Jack had already sent out an email. The subject line read, "Why I'm divorcing Lisa," and the recipients included everyone in their mutual address book. Attached was the voice recording. By the time I locked the last deadbolt, my hands were steady, but my chest felt like it had been through a storm. I leaned back against the door, staring at the suitcase Lisa had left behind. I thought about tossing it in the garbage, but decided against it. Letting her figure out how to pick it up felt more satisfying. The house was quiet now, save for the faint hum of the fridge in the kitchen. My mind kept replaying her voice on that recording, her laughter, her mockery. It wasn't just betrayal. It was the realization that the person I thought I knew, the woman I'd loved for 5 years, didn't exist. Lisa wasn't who I thought she was, and maybe she never had been. I walked into the nursery and stared at the half-painted walls. The roller was still leaning against the tray where I'd left it this morning. The pastel green we'd chosen together suddenly felt wrong, so sickeningly wrong. It was supposed to be for our future, a promise of family, of love. Now, it was just another lie. Without thinking, I grabbed the roller and dunked it in the tray. Instead of finishing the coat, I began scrawling across the walls. Words poured out of me, raw and unfiltered: cheater, liar, betrayal. Each stroke of the roller felt like a release, like I was reclaiming my space from her. The paint dripped down the walls in uneven streaks, but I didn't care. By the time I finished, I was sweating, but my head felt clearer. I sat on the floor for what felt like hours, just staring at the chaos I'd made. The paint was still wet, the fumes sharp in the air, but I didn't move. I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I just let the silence settle in. That night, I slept on the couch, ignoring the buzzing of my phone. Lisa must have tried calling a dozen times, maybe more. I didn't read the texts. I didn't need to. I already knew what they would say. Excuses, apologies, desperate pleas for forgiveness. None of it mattered. She'd made her choices, and now she had to live with them. The next morning, I called her mother. I kept it short and simple. Lisa's suitcase is on the porch. She can come pick it up whenever, but I don't want her stepping foot in this house. Let her know. Her mom was silent for a moment, then sighed. Jack, I'm sorry. Yeah, me too, I said and hung up. By midday, I'd packed up the rest of her things. Clothes, shoes, her ridiculous collection of beauty products that had taken over our bathroom. It all went into boxes and out onto the porch. I didn't want a single trace of her left here. Not in my space, not in my life. When Tuesday came around, Lisa showed up with one of her friends. I stayed inside while they loaded her things into a car. She tried knocking once, but I didn't answer. Through the window, I saw her glance toward the house one last time before driving off. There was no parting speech, no dramatic goodbye. Just the sound of tires crunching on gravel as she left. And that was it. Over the next few weeks, I started untangling myself from her. I contacted the bank, moved our shared money into a new account under my name. It wasn't spite. It was survival. I wasn't about to let her waste another dime on God knows. The hardest part wasn't the practical stuff. It was the quiet. Nights when the house felt too big and too empty, when the bed felt colder than I could stand. I'd sit on the couch with a beer, staring at the walls, trying to figure out where it all went wrong. But deep down, I knew there wasn't an answer that would satisfy me. She made her choice. I just didn't see it coming. A month later, the divorce papers were signed. It was clean and simple. No kids, no house to split, just a legal end to something that had already died. When the lawyer handed me the final paperwork, I felt nothing. Not relief, not closure, just a quiet numbness. The day the papers were finalized, I painted over the words in the nursery. This time, I chose a bold, deep blue. Not for a baby, not for a future that didn't exist anymore. Just for me. It felt like a fresh start, a small one, but a start nonetheless. Looking back now, I don't think of Lisa with anger anymore. I think of her as a lesson, a reminder to never ignore my gut again. Trust isn't something you can rebuild once it's shattered, and love isn't enough to fix something broken at its core. I still want a family someday. Real one built on honesty and mutual respect. But for now, I'm focusing on myself, my friends, my work, my hobbies, things that make me happy without strings attached. It's not the life I imagined, but it's mine, and that's enough. What do you think about this story? Write in comments. If you don't follow our channel Cheating Room, you will probably never hear from us again. If you are subscribed, congratulations, you will not miss any exciting story. Thank you for listening to this shocking story with us. See you again.
Bye bye.